Okay, under the objectives of the inter-process profits, two objectives are over under the last video because of some technical issues. So I just disconnected that particular video. Okay, next is the third objectives to assist in making decisions, such as to buy a partly processed material rather than to process work internally, or to sell a partly processed product, or to process it further. To assist in making decision, the particular thing is, that inter-process profit is very helpful to take the decisions in the case of buy a partly processed material. Sometimes see, under the sometimes we are buying the partly processed materials from the outside, okay, notly pure material, partly processed, already some material are converted, little bit converted, not the purely materials, little bit they converted, that type of materials we are purchasing from the outside. In these cases, these things are very helpful, because at the time of purchasing the materials they should add the what cost plus profit, right? Or at the time of selling the partly processed materials, if we are selling the partly processed materials to outside, means at that time you have to add cost plus profit, right? In this case the inter-process profits is very helpful. So buy partly processed material rather than to process work internally, or to sell a processed product, partly processed products at the time of selling or buying the partly processed. What are the main advantages? Okay, see, first one, ascertaining profitability, main thing under the ascertaining profitability. Otherwise, see, in if we are not if we are not adding the inter-process profits under the each process, means, okay, what we are going to do at the end, we are adding the profit after finishing the after the last process, we are adding certain percentage of profit and we are selling the products. But here we are adding the profits under the each process, means we can ascertain the profitability under the each process. We can assume in which process we are earning more profits, in which process we are earning less profits, and all, right? So ascertaining of profitability is very helpful under the inter-process profits. Okay, inter-process profits assist the management in ascertaining the profitability of operation in each process. Therefore, efficiency or inefficiency of each process is immediately known. Which process is efficient, which process is inefficient, we can come to know. Next one, transfer of economies. Inter-process profits do not permit the economies affected in earlier process to be transferred to the next process, because output is transferred to the next process at an inflated price and not at the cost price. Okay, transfer of economies. Inter-process profits do not permit the economies affected in earlier process to be transferred to the next process. Okay, here not transferring the economists affected to the first process to the another process, because output is transferred to the next process at an inflated price we are transferring. Okay, next one, facilitates comparison is possible under the inter-process profits by adding the profit profits facilitates the comparison between the cost and market price of output of each process. Under the each process cost and market price we can compare. Next one, assists in decision making. This is already over under the objectives, right? Objectives say assist in decision making. Inter-process profits assist management in taking the decisions at each stage of production by comparing the cost product with the market price. By comparing the cost with market, it assists the management to take the decisions and take the decisions regarding the selling of the partly processed materials, partly processed, or buying the partly processed products, or selling the partly processed products. Okay, and it's decide whether it is worthwhile to process the work internally, or to purchase partly processed product from outside. And one more thing, we can decide under the each process, we can decide whether it is worth to process the particular material under the internally, or whether it's cheap to buy the materials or partly processed materials from the outside. Okay, this is about the advantages under the inter-process profit. Okay, next we'll see the disadvantages under the inter-process profits. There are some disadvantages, only two disadvantages are there. Involves complications. It involves some complication because under you come to know at the time of calculations under the previous problems, which were very easy calculation. You are just transferring the output of the last process to the next process, right? But under this involves complication at the time of the preparing the process accounts. Inter-process profits in on separate cost reports for each process. We have to show the comparison of the each process, and or by adopting a standard costing system. When standard could be set for each process, the complication brought into the accounts arise from the fact that inter-process profits so introduced remains included in the price of processed stocks, finished stocks and work in progress. Okay, to calculate the prices of stocks, finished stocks and work in progress is a very little bit complication under this process, and under this we have to compare the cost with the inflated price or invoice price, and these are the complications. It includes the more manual or the system works. Okay, next, overvaluation of closing stock. It's because under the closing stock it overvaluated. How? Under the closing stock means we should not add the profit, right? It includes the profit, so it's overvaluation of the closing stock. We have to, by calculating, we have to take the profit percentage from the closing stock, then we getting the exact closing stock. Closing stock of the work in progress and finished goods include unrealized profits. It includes the unrealized profit, work in progress and finished goods. If this system is to be adopted for balance sheet purposes, such stocks which are valued at an inflated price have to reduce it to actual cost, because the firm cannot make profits by trading with itself, right? So at the time of the balance sheet we have to reduce the closing stock because it includes the profits, right? At the time of writing the closing stock of work in progress and finished goods, it includes the unrealized profit. To know the exact closing stock, we have to take it out from the work in progress and finished goods. These are the main disadvantages of the inter-process costing. Okay, this is the theory part. Okay, remember, inter-process profits, one is the meaning, objectives, advantages and disadvantages. Okay, we'll see the one or two problems.